All right, welcome everyone. My name is Brent Brightwell. I'm with Doublehorn. I am a cloud advocate like many people here at Doublehorn, very passionate about the cloud, and we're glad that you joined us today. We're going to be talking about better clouds and more specifically, multi-cloud management to support better clouds. But first, we want to tell you a story. Thankfully, there's a few Aggies here in the office, and we spent some time in the education space, and one of our favorite educators is the CIO at Texas A&M. And after talking to him about cloud platforms, and what they were trying to do at the university, he pulled me aside and said, listen, my biggest issue when I'm looking at cloud is everybody is talking about price. It's a race to the bottom. They're all competing around price. What about security? What about performance? What about coverage? What about? Someone's got to grade these guys, and that's what you'd expect from a university person. At the time, I may not have appreciated it, but I've got to really appreciate it now, is he's right. Someone's got to be looking at the cloud providers and really understanding the value they truly can bring to help us be able to save on those costs, but also eliminate a lot of the issues that come up, like security over the years, like performance. So that's what really drove us to start thinking about how do we support better clouds? How do we get to better clouds? Because what he was talking about was the bad clouds, and none of us want those. So that's what we're really going to be talking about today, is how do you come in and you drive the behaviors and set the behaviors in the cloud providers to provide better cloud options for all of us. And a good way to do that is to really understand how to manage and work within the multi-cloud environment. Now, you might be saying, you know what, we have our cloud provider, we're happy with our cloud provider, we're only going to be on one cloud provider. And that may be true today. But like we've seen with other industries and other options and other technology advancements, that you're going to be exposed to technologies, whether it be on SaaS, PaaS, or IaaS, and you're going to want to have choices. And having those choices is going to lend you to really wanting to understand, once I start moving beyond a single provider, how am I supposed to now look at the multi-cloud provider market, and how do I choose, compare, how do I design my solutions, how do I monitor, manage, and control my services, and can I do it all from one place, or am I going to be limited by jumping from portal to portal to get all that done? Now, we put out what we think is a very helpful primer around multi-cloud management in this space, and it really lays out the areas you want to take under consideration and the important features you ought to be looking for from a multi-cloud management tool. And I really encourage you to take a look at that. We've also put out a nice multi-cloud management around platforms infographic that kind of summarizes much of what we're going to talk about today. So that's a good takeaway for you if you want to share this presentation or that infographic with your peers so they can have an understanding of what it takes to truly do this in the multi-cloud market. Now let's talk about where we want to be. You know, a few years ago, when we all started looking at online and e-commerce purchasing and getting involved in buying our stuff online, it seemed like it was a no-brainer that someone would provide a platform we could easily go in and we could make purchases. We could interact with the vendors. We could track our orders. We could get a single bill. We would have what we needed all in one place to make purchases across a couple of domains. I personally love Amazon Prime. I can get my movies, I can get food, I can get all kinds of, more than just books from one place. And I can all get it in one single portal, and I can get it and pay with it with one single card and get one single bill, track my orders, and I can look at the reviews. And it's a great way to be able to interact with multiple technologies, and it abstracts the complexity and allows me to get what I want, when I want it, and how I want it from one place. Well, that's our view of better clouds. We think that better clouds is going to evolve to where you'll be able to go and should be able to go to a single place to shop, compare, order, provision, receive your bill, monitor, control, all from one place. That's the way other industries have trended and done well, and that's what we've come to expect. And we believe that's the same thing that'll happen with the cloud market. So what does the cloud market look like today? When you go out and you start interfacing, we'll take the SaaS and IaaS providers, you go and you interact with each one of the cloud vendors. And whether it be on IaaS or you're getting your SaaS applications, you're going from portal to portal, you're interacting with those companies on a one-to-one basis, and it kind of goes against the logic of what you want to be able to do is interact in one place and then let that portal abstract the complexity of all the things from those providers that you have to worry about and deal with. You're being limited by the technology today, and we believe that's going to change. And that's what the essence of multi-cloud management is. It's changing the paradigm of how cloud providers provide better prices, better performance, better coverage, better visibility, and better control, and then bringing a layer of cloud management that you deal with one single place to interact with them, driving towards the greater good. I mentioned earlier about the white paper. I highly encourage you to go take a look. If this is of interest to you, this is an area you really want to spend some time double-clicking and looking at. Because there we outline how to really think about the entire life cycle of dealing with cloud. Whether you're starting out with the design and planning pieces, moving into comparing your options, then you're ready to make a purchase and provision. Now you're live and up and running in the cloud. You may be starting over again and working through another use case, design, compare, purchase, and you brought up another cloud or cloud provider. And then you're going to be monitoring, controlling, focusing on optimizing your costs and making sure you got the ROI from the decision to go to the cloud, all from one place. So let's take a minute and dig into each one of those and explain what we mean by design, for example. So with design, this is really designing those custom cloud solutions for common use cases. And a common use case might be backup and recovery. You need a failover environment. First, you really want to understand, what do I really need, okay? And am I able to get that, right? Am I able to get that from one place? For example, maybe the requirement is I need to come up with a failover solution, and I need to get 3 quotes and product lists to meet the internal requirements from purchasing. Being able to do that from one place, specifically around a use case like failover, making sure that you're walking through and understanding via a questionnaire what my true needs are, and I've thought about everything. For backup and recovery, that may be there's some governmental regulation that I need to adhere to. And I hadn't thought about. Maybe I'm not a government expert, I'm a backup and recovery expert, but I need to be thinking about that failover in the context of where that data is going to sit. And with that, being able to walk through, having a nice little walkthrough of a questionnaire, answering those, and then quickly getting a nice diagram, architectural layout, product list, and having those options and being able to take those and discuss that with my purchasing partner is going to be a big benefit. Now, once we've met with that purchasing partner and we've said, okay, now we're ready to make a decision, we really want to get into comparing. And the best way to compare, of course, is to take an apples-to-apples approach. You want to be able to compare the solutions to the use cases across those providers. And to do that effectively, you need to have plenty of choices, of course, from those providers. Why? Well, there's always the issue of vendor lock-in. And what happens to many of us is we start working with a vendor and we're happy, and then now we're ready to spin up our next workload and application. And then why wouldn't I go to my vendor for that? But what if that vendor is not as specialized, right? Maybe there's a better boutique offering from another vendor. And you want to be able to go and make those comparisons. Look at those choices, look at those plans, and have that laid out for you. So we've designed something, we've gone and we've compared and looked at the best offerings, the best solution paired to my need. Now we're ready to purchase. Now, back to our early Amazon example, that's probably the most powerful thing that Amazon offers. They bring together all these products that you can go and get across a variety of domains, and they make it very simple and very easy to purchase. And we think that's exactly the same approach that has to happen when it comes to getting your cloud services. You want to have services from a variety of providers, and then once you make your selection, you can immediately provision. And then once you're already provisioned, you're up and running, being able to go back and add new services after the purchase. We want to be able, just like be able to get our order completed and paid for and then receive our goods, with cloud we want to see the same thing. And you don't want to be limited by a low selection of providers, not having visibility in the right and best prices, the best offerings and prices to my specific need. There's a big push around, how are we going to go agile in the enterprise? And agile is expanded from just a development thought, from ideation to development to execution, adopted across the organization. Having the capability to go in and design a solution, do the comparison, make the purchases that fits the use cases and gets the buy-in from those in the organization is the best way to be able to adhere to an agile type process. Now, once we've made our purchases, let's start thinking about what it's going to be like to manage, monitor, and control those services. So, like Amazon, from the consumer side, provides you a lot of the pricing information. Cloud has the ability to be able to do the same thing, being able to get the financial information that you need to be able to understand how your costs and are you getting the ROI. And that, coupled with the technical data provided, is key, because then you can look at, technically, here's how things are going, and I'm seeing the monitoring and alerting on the dashboards and my reporting products to be able to tell me what I need to go fix when something's broken, but also how is it impacting me financially. And having a great visualization of both how you're performing technically and how you're performing financially is the best way to understand how your business is operating. So having a very strong and robust alerting capability for both financial thresholds and for technical issue, break-fix issues, must-know-now issues is key. And then having a dashboard to quickly be able to visualize these things in a very clear and concise way by what's meaningful to me and those I work with. And then carrying that a step further and being able to do detailed reporting for trend analysis, historical analysis, budgeting purposes. And trend analysis can't be limited to 2 weeks. This is something that needs to be running for quite a while for you to be able to understand truly what the trends are, and then how we can make decisions based on that reporting to better ourselves financially and what issues we're seeing that are technically we need to fix. With monitoring comes control. If you don't have any capability to truly control what you're seeing that's breaking or coming through a threshold alert, it's almost meaningless. And the key benefit around going to the cloud for many of us, along with agility and cost, is adding some level of control. It's paying by the drink. It's being able to treat it more like a utility, that light switch that we can turn on and off when we're not using it. And the providers do a good job of providing us some level of control to start, stop, terminate services. But the one area they all fail in, unfortunately, is scheduling. And that's a key area. And there's a good reason why they wouldn't want us to be able to schedule. They want us to leave it on and leave it up and leave it running. That's more of a benefit and a profit to them. Completely understandable. But that's terrible for us as end users when we want to be able to schedule things. We want to be able to have more control. So a good multi-cloud management tool allows you to not only start, stop, control services across multi-cloud, cross-cloud providers and multi-cloud environment, but also be able to schedule your programs, your campaigns, your business needs, and set it and let it run and trust that those cost savings and that scheduling is working for you. All right. Optimizing costs. So at the end of the day, why are we doing all this? Is it to save money? Is it to make our lives easier? Is it to improve our offerings and services to our products? Is it all that lead up to if the providers are able to provide better costs, better performance, better security? Does that come down to how am I optimizing costs and getting what the best dollar bang for the buck, everything that I spend? So the key is saving money, and we learned this as an organization over the last 4 years. We'll say it the hard way, because when you're dealing with state, local, and education, when you're dealing with communities, you're dealing with poor counties, you're dealing with sheriff's departments who are understaffed, you're dealing with schools, you're constantly thinking as an organization, how do I control the cost? How do I save? Every dollar I can save for them, they get to spend on books and roads and other very important things in the community. And what that instilled in us, it inculcated a value system that's really led to better clouds, and why we feel like that's such an important thing, because you need to be able to control your costs in the cloud, control your usage. We need to go to one place, not to many places. So one single platform, that single pane of glass. We need to be able to save as much time as we can for people so they can put that time on much more beneficial things. So one of the key areas that we run into, especially on the enterprise side, is the challenge that IT professionals have in working with their procurement partners. And those procurement partners are really overwhelmed, and it's really tough on them in this transition to cloud. Whereas they've had their spreadsheets and they've had their hardware and their software and they've been able to negotiate their 20% discount, it's just not working that way for them in the cloud environment, where they can't keep up with all those cloud prices and all those services and really understand what those mean for any single vendor, much less how they compare across other vendors. So if you're dealing with a procurement person who has lost somewhat control that they're used to, doesn't have the visibility like they've been accustomed to, and they're pushing back on you, it's because of education. So having a multi-cloud management tool where you can provide them the type of data and the type of format that they need to help you make the purchasing decisions to get it signed and move forward is going to be a benefit to you both. So when you think about multi-cloud, you're thinking about the optimized cost, but also you're thinking about, is this going to save me time from jumping from portal to portal? Is it going to save me and my procurement partner time when it comes to analyzing the best solution at the best cost? And is it going to allow me to have the control when I'm up and running to be able to manage and monitor, set those thresholds for both financial issues and technical issues, and then take some level of action to be able to go in there and start and stop and control my services? All right, so to close, I would like to tell you a little bit about who we are at Double Horn. So our company is almost about a dozen years old now, and the last 4 years we've spent heavily in the cloud space, specifically in the state, local, and education. And we've been able to work with agencies, hospitals, schools, counties, sheriff's departments, police departments, you name it. It's always been a wonderful experience, and we've learned so much. But one thing it has drilled into us is that everything that we do and we do for them, we're doing it and how it impacts the taxpayer, how it impacts the community, how it impacts children, how it impacts people like us who live in those communities. So what that did for us is it said, if we're going to really improve the world in technology, and we want to encourage people to go to clouds, we've got to get better clouds. So that is really the purpose behind everything that we're doing. It is to work with all those cloud vendors, those SaaS providers, and to work with them to provide at the best prices, the best coverage, the best performance and security and support for all the customers that we have today and all the future customers we're going to have tomorrow. So we want to thank you for this time. We really appreciate you looking at the multi-cloud management white paper. We think it would be very educational, and sharing the infographic with your peers. And right now we're ready to take on some questions. All right. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and use the chat feature and go in and ask questions there, we'll be more than happy to answering those questions, and we'll hang around here for a bit longer. Yes, the first question is, has Double Horn Solution received FedRAMP approval? Yes, we have. As you know, that's a very important process, very challenging process to go through, and it was one of the first ones that we took on voluntarily, even before we had customers asking for it. Yes, we do have those. Yeah, so that was a great question. We appreciate if there are any other questions, please type those in the chat window. Yeah, so another question came in that we explained why we need to manage multi-cloud environments, but never showed the how, or the what we should do, as what would be expected. And that was me trying to play coy and get to the teaser, and the teaser was to go look at that multi-cloud management white paper. And then over our next several webinars, we're going to be getting into the what and the how, and showing more of the tools that we use and the ones that are available for you guys to use. Yeah, so another question came in. So typically, if I want a cloud solution, I'll go straight to the SaaS or IaaS provider. Can you explain the benefit of going through someone like Doublehorn? Yeah, there's so many SaaS providers and IaaS providers out there. I mean, we probably use 20 plus SaaS solutions here at Doublehorn ourselves. And the first thing that we run into is we have to do all the manual consolidation around our billing, and that's always problematic. It makes, drives our accounting nuts just at that level. And then we have to, of course, go to different portals to do different things. And then we have a support issue. We have to pick up and call multiple phone numbers. Do that times 20 just on the SaaS side, much less on the IaaS side. You could imagine how frustrating and difficult that may be. So having one place to go to, having one person to work with, that's always the benefit of working with a third-party broker, especially when they're providing you so many different features and functions, whether it be onboarding and coming onto the cloud, and allowing you to look at and do comparative analysis across the cloud vendors for storage, network, database, and compute, and then being able to design specific cloud use cases around backup and recovery, dev, test, storage, to really catch a lot of the requirements that you may not have thought about. And then once onboarded, being able to manage it and monitor and alert all from one place is a great benefit. And of course, being able to pick up the phone or hit the chat button and go to one person, that's even better, especially when they're very astute and have a long time history of helping companies and agencies solve quick problems that may arise. And of course, not just consolidated billing after the fact, but having a understandable bill, a bill that's a lot easier that makes sense to you. That's always a challenge. The providers are getting there, but there's a lost in translation that we've seen happen with a lot of especially on our SLED customers, where they need a little bit more intuitiveness to the bill. They can act more self-explanatory. And then offering that up in a digital format and having that readily available for historical look and view, and then being able to have that in my long-term reporting, and being able to go back and do historical analysis, set thresholds when we cross certain thresholds, and being able to alert on it and so on. So you can always go to the cloud providers or the SaaS vendors and knock those off, one bowling pin at a time. But if you're going to hit a strike, you're going to go after one, that lead pin, and that's what a broker will do for you, like Doublehorn. Another question is, in your intro, you mentioned the conversation with the Texas A&M CIO, and what did he say matters to him most when he's evaluating cloud provider? Well, the first thing he said to me was, price is important, but it's not the only important thing, especially when you sacrifice security, performance, coverage for price. And his concern was, in this lower drive race to the bottom, this price war that continues to go on between the major providers, that in order to do that, they've got to cut their costs, their operating costs, and they may be sacrificing certain things to do that. And when you're dealing with student data and children information, you have to be very careful and conscious about security aspects. When you've got a regional-based university, but it's starting to operate on a global-based economy, distance learning, you have to care about coverage. And that's why you've seen a lot with the providers moving into different data centers in different regions and being able to go there. And then finally, performance. We all know that, the less money, you get what you pay for. And performance and availability is going to be a key thing. And that's where the management and monitoring comes in. But there's also that level of control that cloud is supposed to provide. It's supposed to provide that security, that performance, that agility. And at the end of the day, someone has to be out there really looking after the customer when it comes to the pricing, the performance and availability, the security, and seeing the coverage models that allow for the cloud. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We thank you very much for attending this webinar and look forward to talking to you again soon when we get really more into the what and the how around multi-cloud management. Again, we encourage you to go look at that white paper that we produced around multi-cloud management, the infographic, and sharing that with your peers, and then going to betterclouds.com and starting to experience the technology for yourself. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.